Happy Monday evening, Frank Rock. This is your House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. We'll get into a lot of football talk tonight. Go do a season preview. Go do position preview. Going to look at potential record for the 2024 season. Go talk some recruiting this weekend as well. And if we get time, depending on how far it goes or how long it goes, we'll try to add in some basketball, men's and women's basketball, and maybe a little bit of baseball talk as well. As Tennessee with baseball has been, I saw where they got another commitment sometime this afternoon. I just saw it just a few minutes ago, actually. Ben Martin, 2025 pitcher, was committed to Mercer from Georgia. Now he's in the fold for Tennessee here as well. And I was trying to see. I was before streaming this on a few platforms, and Twitter was one of them. And now they're just being ridiculous on it. I guess you have to have a premium to post on there. So yeah, whatever, we'll roll with it. But let's get rolling here. It's got Papa J for $10. They're going to be joining later. Have church softball practice tonight. So, all right, Papa J. Hope it goes good. Hope that practice goes well tonight. Got Luke Chan Ming says GBFO in the house tonight. Looks like we got a few of you in here right now. Live streams, just the Monday nights. They're still a little bit slow to get going right now. They don't have too many people in here, but we'll go for a little bit on this, and we'll see what kind of audience we get, if it picks up or not. And then, of course, I'll do a little bit of, some of you, if you're a regular listener, if you listen to videos and stuff along the way, there are membership tiers available now. I'll kind of throw those out there: $2.99, $4.99, and $9.99, and may look at some other options as well. And then there is a $1 a month Patreon if you want to help support the channel. Any money does go toward content on the channel. It is really, just your equipment, just things to help bring a better experience, of course. But and right now, if you're in here, hit the thumbs up. Share this thing out. Somebody that's maybe not found the channel or something that and you like the content, share it out. Get as many people here as possible. And then if you've not hit that subscribe button, you are supposed to get notifications on subscriptions as well. But so let's get into it. Tomorrow, 12:45, according to utsports.com, tomorrow at 12:45 Eastern time, Josh Heupel will take the podium tomorrow, as that will mark the annual beginning of fall practice, or whatever you want to call it, August practice. I guess you could say July 31st practice, but Josh Heupel takes the stage or the podium at 12:45. It says you can stream it on, I think it said, where was it at here? On UT Athletics YouTube channel. It said Tim Banks, Joey Halsley will also talk tomorrow, and it said some players, and Nico Iamaleava is one of them that will speak to the media tomorrow. I don't know exactly what time he will go on, but it'll be sometime, of course, after Josh Heupel. And then, of course, Wednesday morning, Tennessee does start they do start practice, and it said it'll be morning time, sometime morning time on Haslam Field. So, and I'm sure we'll get reports once that's finished as well here, as we'll see. I think I'm trying to think how it goes. If I'm not mistaken, and some of you that are in here right now can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I'm thinking it's like a few days. They go so many days without pads, and then they go into pads there as well. But let's see. SEC football said top 5 recruiting class. Let's go. And then Big Sanders, we land him. It's huge. Yeah, we'll talk some recruiting here after a while as well. But yeah, that'll kind of be the icing on the cake at that point. I believe that'll be a big one, and I think Tennessee's done about all they can on that. I don't know if they've done all they can, but if they don't get him for some reason, it's not going to be for lack of effort. But I think we're going to get good news on August 17th. I really do. Getting into it, I did a couple previews, position previews, and I kind of got into some other things, and I figured I'd just save the rest for the live show because I did preview the quarterbacks, did preview the offensive line, didn't get into anything else, and those videos just for me don't get the views either, especially if I find something on Lady Vols or baseball or basketball. But I mean the recruiting stuff did pretty good for sure. But so getting into it tomorrow. So I talk quarterbacks, and I'll link that at the end, or you can find it under Tennessee off season as well, and the Tennessee 24-25 playlist I've got. But just your quarterbacks. I mean, let's face it, all eyes are going to be on Nico Iamaleava this year. If the hype is real, what does he bring to the table? We've seen the last 3 years what quarterback play can do for this team. 2 of the years with Hendon Hooker, I mean, they got to the bowl game. Josh Heupel's first year, they win 11 games. Year 2 in 2022. Last year, quarterback play was, I think it lacked a little bit of desire a lot of times. And then but we still got 9 wins last year. If that's a down year, 9 wins, I'll take it. I expect with this team this year, because I previewed the quarterbacks, I previewed the offensive line. I think those 2 are going to be key in this team. This offensive line is going to have a lot of experience. Your starting offensive line, you're going to have Hurd at left tackle. I'm thinking it'll be Jackson Lampley at left guard, but it could be Carrick, the Texas transfer from a couple years ago. Cooper Mays center, Javante Spraggins at right guard, John Campbell at right tackle. That's a pretty good lineup. That's a lineup with a lot of snaps under it. And of course, the bad thing too, you're going to lose 4 of those guys. Actually, of the 5 guys I mentioned 6 guys. Hurd is the only one who will be back after the rest, and Dane Davis. So that's 6 of your top 7 linemen, arguably, that'll be gone after this year. I think this is a year Tennessee's got to make some noise with it. And we'll see just how far that is. And a lot of us, if this line gives Nico the time, I think he's going to be doing big things this year for sure. Nico Suave. There you go. I definitely think he'll be doing big things, but I look at the skill positions. Feel like we've got the quarterback with Nico. Now, hopefully it doesn't, but if something were to happen, you got Gaston Moore, you got Jake Merklinger backing up. I think if it's, from what I've read, if it's short term, you'll see Gaston Moore come in. If it's longer term, if something were to happen, it would be Merklinger. Hopefully we don't have to worry about that. Let's just get that out of the way. But, hopefully Nico stays healthy and, we keep doing what's expected. But then you look to skill position. I think Dylan Sampson is going to have a big year this year. I think big things are going to happen with him. The question with the running backs is going to be depth. Cam Seldon, I think from what I've read, is still a little banged up. Haven't seen much on Peyton Lewis, but I'm pretty sure I read that he's going to be ready to go. Deshaun Bishop will be back there, and then Khalifa Keith as well. Tennessee's had one of the top running attacks each year that Josh Heupel's been here. I expect the same thing this year as well. Guys will get carries. Guys will make things happen. If Seldon's healthy, along with Sampson, I like what Seldon. I'm high on him. With his speed, his size, I think he can do big things. Here's one. Then receivers. The wide receivers. My expectation is it'll be Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, and Chris Brazel that start. Now, could be wrong on that as well. So I'm going to pull up. I apologize. My nose, something keeps itching my nose here. So, let me pull the roster up here just a minute. We'll look at the right wide receivers. Of course, you're, what are you going to get out of Mike Matthews? What will you get out of Braylon Staley? I think you'll see something out of both those guys. I mean, there's Dante Thornton as well. Started to come on last year a bit, and then he got hurt, unfortunately, against Missouri. I think I expect him to do pretty well. Of course, there's Chaz Nimrod, who's up to 220. So that's, that guy's been putting some work in as well. Trying to see who else we got. Caleb Webb. I mean, he did some things last year. How's he going to factor in? I think this receiving core is going to be good this year. I expect them to take a step forward from last year because it just felt like I don't know, a perfect storm a lot of times, whether it was quarterback play, whether it was receivers not catching balls. I mean, it just seemed like so many times things just did not go well on there. But we'll see how that goes this year. I think it'll be better. I think the offense will run a lot smoother than it did last year, and I don't think you can understate just how much having a veteran center like Cooper Mays will make on here. I really don't. Before going further, again, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you share this out. Got 8 people in here. If this is all we're having tonight, we're probably not going to go too long on here. So I'm hoping we can get some more in here. Hopefully, as these Monday nights roll on, we can start getting maybe a better audience than this. We've had some pretty good ones for some post games, but had some pretty good Monday night ones as well. But tonight's not looking too good on this as of right now. So trying to see here as well if there's anything else going on tonight. Nope, not seeing much on here. But again, biggest thing to help sharing this thing out. Leacock is still on the team. Yes, he is. From what I've seen, I don't expect him to make much of a contribution this year. He's still on the team, and then you still got Nate Spillman on here as well. I don't know that either one of those guys, honestly, makes a big difference, at least not this year. Possibly down the line they will. But, I mean, Tennessee for next year, I mean, they're loading up with Dotson, with Jackson, with Smith coming in with this receiver class, and then do they add through the portal? They seem to add about a receiver per year out of the portal. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them do that again also. Let's see. Yeah, this Twitter thing, man, is kind of messed a little bit on here that you have to do premium. That's a joke, but is what it is. But overall, I expect this offense to get back to scoring. I expect them back in that 40-point per game range. I really do. I think all the pieces are there. And I ain't talked about the tight ends. I think tight ends will be good. They got Stays from Notre Dame. They got what's the guy from Bama off the top of my head? Kittlesman from Alabama come over. That'll be your top 2. Where does Ethan Davis, he's a redshirt freshman, does he take that step and get into the rotation as well? I know they're high on him and his potential. And then you've got freshman Cole Harrison. I would probably expect him to redshirt. I mean, I know Charlie Browder is on here. He did come from UCF, so can he maybe get his way into the rotation here as well? I think the tight ends will be good. I really do. I think they'll add some to it. I think Holden Stays will be good as a starter. What can the rest of them add to it? What can Kittlesman add to it? A veteran guy from Alabama coming in, played at JUCO, went to Alabama, now he's in Knoxville to finish out his college career. You put all that together, the speed with Dylan Sampson, Cam Seldon's speed when he's healthy. Looking at what kind of speed is Peyton Lewis. He's supposed to have some good speed as well. Looking at receivers, you know what you've got out of Brew McCoy. He's a bruiser. He can catch it. He's going to make the catch, and he's going to bruise some defensive backs along the way. Squirrel White, of course, we know him. Squirrel White's got a chance, from what I've seen, to end his career if he stays 2 more years, to be the all-time leading pass catcher in Tennessee history, all-time leading receptions. That's pretty interesting there as well. You get into some of these guys. Brazel has size and speed. We saw it some in the orange and white game. Dante Thornton, size and speed. Braylon Staley is a burner. Mike Matthews, I don't think he's as much of a burner as these other guys, but I definitely think that there's going to be speed. this offensive line, if they run the ball like they have been, if they give Nico time, this offensive line will do some big things. And this quarterback, these receivers will all do some big things. I expect this offense to be elite this year. I'm excited about it. The big question is going to be Georgia is the one team since Heupel's been here that's had his number, that they've not been able to score a lot of points on Georgia. Can they figure that out? Because to eventually get to where they want to get to, they're going to have to go through Georgia. Meaning they're either going to have to score some points or they're going to have to learn how to shut Georgia down, because they've not been able to shut Georgia down defensively either. Now, that's on down the line. You've got other teams to worry about before that. But, Tennessee is doing good. There's a lot of hype on here. People are saying they should make that playoff. Yeah, I think they should. And we'll talk about the schedule, go through that here in just a few minutes. But, getting this, I'm going to get to the defense now. Let's go to the defense. I'll go and start with the defensive backs. Do you see Boo Carter starting? From what I have seen, this is a great question. I don't know if he starts immediately, but I would not be surprised. Based on what I've seen, I think he's going to be the punt returner. And I think. I don't know this stuff. I've not seen a depth chart as well. I've just seen speculation from mods on different sites on it. But I think Boo will be in the running to play this year. I don't know if he starts from the beginning, but it also, if some guys struggle, it would not surprise me to see him start later on the season. If he's as good as they say he is, I think you'll have a hard time keeping him off the field this year. I just don't see how you couldn't, if he's as dynamic as we think he is, especially does he play that nickel position, that star, or could he possibly play safety? But I think he'll make some plays this year, whether it's in the punt return game or in the secondary. I think he'll show out with his skill set and what he does. But the big thing with the secondary or the defense is going to be the secondary. I mean, the defensive line is going to be one of the best in college football, if not the best. The defensive backs, though, I mean, that's where the questions are. So if we look at the defensive backs now, and let me just pull up the screen here. We'll look at utsports.com together here. Hey, we're up to 12 people. We're rolling tonight now. There we go. So I appreciate you guys that are in here tonight. Thanks for being in here on this Monday night. Hopefully moving forward, these Monday night shows will take off a little bit more. But I don't know that I advertised it very well this week either. But. All right, here we go. So you've got, I know William Wright. He's played some pretend. Ricky Gibson, I expect Ricky Gibson to start. I expect Andre Turrentine to start at safety. I would expect Jermod McCoy, transfer from Oregon State, to start at the other safety. Jordan Thomas, I think there is a good possibility he is the star from what I've seen. And then your other corner, more than likely, I'm looking here at probably Jacoby Thomas, transfer from Middle Tennessee. Jalen McMurray will be somewhere in there, transfer from Temple. I've also seen with safety, possibly Christian Charles could be in the mix at that safety spot. Of course, you have Boo Carter, you have Farouk come in from Maryland, freshman. Jordan Matthews, I seen somebody ask on VolQuest today how he's doing, and one of the mods on there said Jordan Matthews had a good offseason, so they expect him to do good things. I know Caleb Beasley had an injury, so I'm curious to see, is he a full go to starter or not? Marcus Gorey, I know they're high on him. I've seen Will Brooks. He's a walk-on guy. I've seen him mentioned as a guy that may possibly get some time at safety. So, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. That's one of two things. You're either he's much better than we think, or other guys are not what we expected them to be. I mean, that's really what it is. If you got a walk-on playing at this point, maybe you found a Jim who an under the radar guy, but it's either that or you got some guys underperforming on that. But this defensive backfield, there's talent. There's not a lot of experience on it. But I mean, you look at Gibson, a sophomore, Turrentine redshirt junior, McCoy, sophomore, Jordan Thomas, a junior. I mean, Christian Harrison, could he fit in at some point? I know he played some in the bowl game. A lot of these guys played, and I thought they did a good job, but I don't know if that Iowa offense was the measuring stick of what we're going to see on defense or the offenses that we're going to see. McMurray coming in, redshirt junior. Jacoby Thomas, redshirt junior. John Slaughter, sophomore. Can he factor in possibly at safety? Christian Charles, redshirt junior. So all these guys, I mean, Jordan Matthews, redshirt freshman. Boo, Farouk, Caleb Beasley, Gorey, all true freshmen. This is a very, very young secondary. Colin Brazel, I mean, they got him late in here. This is a secondary, and, you know, if you continue to add to that, I mean, just looking at recruiting, I don't know that defensive back will be a huge focus of this staff this year in recruiting. I'm going to look right now as to what they've got, because I know they just got Lagonza Hayward, Shady Hayward, so he could be a safety, or they're talking he could possibly be a linebacker. Sidney Walton, 6'2", is listed as a safety. Dylan Lewis, cornerback out of Alpharetta, Georgia. Trey Petit, corner out of Wisconsin. Tyler Redmond, cornerback out of Milton, Georgia. So never mind, they've got 5 defensive back commitments. I couldn't remember how many they had on here prior to looking. So I guess it's a case you can never have too much talent in there. And a big thing, and I had it in a video when I talked about I did a video, can a Josh Heupel-led team have a good defense? It's going to be about depth. It's going to be about depth, because if this offense is going fast, if this offense goes as fast as I think they will this year, they're going to need depth on defense, because you've got the difference, I think, now than 2 years ago with Hendon Hooker running it. This offensive line is a lot. It's more of a veteran line. You got Cooper Mays, who's played a lot of football at Tennessee at center. That's going to help this go faster. Nico, I think, naturally plays fast, a lot faster. I mean, you saw how fast he played in the bowl game, and that was with a makeshift line. What's he going to do with all the main guys in there? I think this offense is going to go super fast. Scoring-wise, or, you know, if they go 3 and out, normally when they go 3 and out, it takes them like 10 seconds to go 3 and out. But not literally, but it's normally very fast. So the defense, for a defense to be, I think, elite, it's just continuing to add to it with depth. That's where I'm kind of at with it. So defensive backs, that's the unit to me that's really going to depend on a lot, because it's young. There's really a lot of inexperience there as well. There's a lot of talent, but are they able to get these guys to that level that they need them to? To me, it's Willie Martinez. It's crap or get off the pot time for him this year. I mean, that's where, and I like Willie Martinez. I think he does a pretty good job overall, because, I mean, guys have made improvement. Look what Jalen McCullough did last year. Look what Kamal Haddon was before his injury. How much improvement he had made. So we'll see. All eyes are going to be on that unit, but I'll tell you this as well. I still think there's question in the linebacking unit as well. Getting Keenan Pili back is big. But other than that, I mean, there's really a lot of unproven guys. You've got Arian Carter, who played some, or Arian, I can't remember how you pronounce it exactly. Caleb Perry, Edwin Spillman, freshman linebacker. He's a guy, if he's as good as he looked in orange and white game, I don't see how they're going to keep him off the field. I know that was orange and white game. I know that was a different thing, but man, I was super impressed with Edwin Spillman. And William Inge, the linebackers coach, talked about him back in the spring and said, one thing with him is he's not afraid to hit anybody, for sure. Jeremiah Thielander, sophomore, he'll factor in. Does Jalen Smith factor in here as well? So, I mean, I still think this linebacking core, it's unproven, and there's still not a ton of depth there. I mean, you have Carter, Perry, Pilly, T. Lander. That's going to be your main four guys. I really think Spillman and I think even Jalen Smith, they're going to have to be able to play some linebacker. I mean, just a Jordan Burns possibly come in. It's like you've got a couple of transfer guys: Cody Duncan from Virginia Tech, Eli Purcell from Wofford. A couple guys. I'm not sure if they are walk-ons or what. Of course, there's a few other walk-ons here as well. That's a unit to me that could be worrisome. Also, yes, I agree with this one, Tony. Definitely, Cooper's missed games the last 3 years. If he can stay healthy for the whole year, I mean, you look at last year, the first of the year, especially against Florida. I think Cooper Mace could have made a difference with that game, but I don't know it would have made a win or anything. But not having him the first of the year, it definitely made some difference with it as well. I'm like you. That's the big thing for me is I want to see Cooper stay healthy. That's going to be the big thing because it's who's the backup center. I think that's still kind of unknown. It's probably Dane Davis from what I've seen, but I've also seen that's not for sure. I think Dane Davis will probably be your backup at almost every position this year based on everything I've read. The biggest thing that can help is for this defensive line to live up to what they're saying. This defensive line, I'd seen the other day they have 19 guys on scholarship here. I mean, just looking at them here, and I'll share the screen here again. We'll look at these. Here we go. So you got Elijah Simmons, who's back. Tyree Weathersby, redshirt freshman, 6'5", 272. That dude's put some weight on. I'm excited to see him. He was highly thought of coming in. See good things about Joshua Josephs. Does he take that next step this year? Bryson Eason, of course, has played a lot of football the last couple of years. Omari Thomas. I mean, I'm really kind of still surprised Omari Thomas is here. I kind of thought he would have been gone early, but the fact we've got him back again is big. James Pierce Jr., I mean, expectations are sky high for him this year. There's outlets. He's projecting to be a top 10 pick after this season at worst. There's some even projected at one point number one. I mean, here's Jordan Ross, freshman, who was a 5-star coming in. Jamal Wallace, JUCO guy coming in from Sierra College. Caleb Herring, sophomore. I think there's big things expected of him. Tyree West was highly thought of coming in, 2 years? Well, he came in with James Pierce in that same class. Got Jackson Moy from Stanford coming in. Got Hobbs, former 5-star. Omar Norman Lott is back. Here's Kellen Lindstrom that they signed last year. Trying to see if there's anybody. Dominic Bailey's a guy's played plenty of football. Here's Nathan Robinson, who's 6'6", 295 redshirt. Carson Gentle, a freshman. Jason Jenkins, who hit the portal briefly and then he came back. He was starting to play a little bit more last year. Emmanuel Okoye, he was a very raw guy from what they've said. At what point he got moved from tight end to defensive line. So I don't know how much to expect out of him this year, but there is so much depth on that defensive line. And that's where, when I talk about this team having elite defense to help, why not? You've got to have that kind of depth. They have it on the defensive line, but that the linebacking unit, Pilly, I think is going to be really good. I'm curious to see, do some of these guys like Arian Carter, does he take that step? Tennessee beat Alabama out for, was starting to play a little bit more, and then he got hurt last year. My biggest thing, I want to see how those linebackers be able to cover in space. That's where Tennessee's got burned. They were bad out in the flats. They've been bad for a couple years out in the flats, in my opinion. And then that secondary. So the defense is still going to have questions this year. Do I expect them to take another step? Yes. I'm just afraid there'll be some games where, if you get into good things, we've got Alabama at home, so you may not get the Alabama home cooking where the Alabama lineman can just hold on and get away with it the whole game. But this Tennessee defensive line has got to disrupt the passer. They've got to wreak havoc on it and not leave these linebackers and defensive backs on an island, because if they do, it could be some long nights on defense, especially against some of these higher scoring offenses that are out there. Sam Hargrove, what's up, man? Good to have you in here. Nico will be great, but he will not be the best quarterback he will be. Still very young and growing. Yeah, I think I've said this about Nico. I think what we need with Nico is for him to be the starter for 2 years and then off to the NFL. And the reason I say that is because at some point, especially with Tennessee starting to roll these quarterbacks in like they are, that I believe that we really need him. If he has 2 big years and then he's, say, top 10 in the draft, Tennessee needs a quarterback to go high again here at some point, especially when you're trying to build a quarterback factory with Merklinger now, George McIntyre coming in next year, next Saturday, and we'll talk about this later. It's looking very possible that Faison Brandon, number 1 quarterback, number 1 player in 2026, will be in the fold. To keep getting these guys, you're going to have to put some dudes up there high in the draft. Hendon Hooker, 3rd round a couple years ago, would have went higher if not for the injury. Joe Milton went later to the Patriots. I've seen some stuff on him talking about how he's just a freak athlete. So I'm really curious what they're doing with him, with the Patriots. We know Milton had all the tools. It was just a matter of putting it together. Yeah, he said Selden and Peyton. I was thinking he said Selden was still maybe not quite full go, but I think he said Peyton was, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong on that. Jeremy Webb, good to see you in here as well, man. Glad to have you on here. Glad you found the channel here. What's up, Keg 2071? Good evening to you as well. You guys coming in, make sure, again, hit that thumbs up. If you guys can, share this content out. We've got a whopping 15 in here tonight. Not a good turnout tonight. One of the worst turnouts in a while. That's all right, though. That's all right. That's I know this is normally, I've advertised pretty heavy football talk tonight, and I know I'm normally not the football go-to, but that's what we're trying to be an everything channel, cover every sport. That's what we do on here. This thing is built tremendously so far, this channel. Very happy with that. Can keep getting, hopefully this football content people start getting it here as we progress to the season as well. If you just joined, we talked, sit here and talk, basically did position previews on the team, and have not talked special teams yet, because that's where Tennessee's going to have some replacing to do. Of course, Charles Campbell was the kicker last year. He was a grad transfer from Indiana. He is out of eligibility. D. Williams, punt returner, he's gone as well. So pretty good possibility based on what I've seen. Boo Carter is going to be your punt returner. Your kick specialist, I think, will be the same. Turbyfield. Your punter, Jackson Ross, will be the same. Of course, he's the dual-footed guy. And from what I've seen, the place-kicking battle will more than likely be between Max Gilbert, who's a redshirt freshman, and JT Carver, who's a redshirt junior here. And then you had, of course, Turbyville is the kickoff guy. Could he possibly factor in to that as well? But based on what I think VolQuest talked about it today when they previewed, that they're expecting that Max Gilbert may be the kicker, redshirt freshman, said because of his range. So this dude, I don't know a lot about him, but a guy that's Charles Campbell was pretty good last year. No missed extra points. He was 18 out of 23, was perfect within 40 yards. So, you need guys to do that, but you got to have a guy who can hit that long field goal at some point too. Tennessee needs that. So if it's Gilbert, if it's Carver, or whomever, I think based on what I'm seeing, it'll be either Gilbert or it'll be Turbyville, one of the two on that. So Tennessee, that is something. Mike Eckler, he's a dude who takes some pride in his special teams. I totally expect he'll have another good special teams unit as well. I don't have any doubt on that one. But talk to offense, I expect, to kind of sum up the offense. My expectation is this offense is going to go fast. They're going to score a lot of points, and they're going to be very fun to watch. That is definitely my expectation on it this season. Offensive line should be strong. I expect Nico to ball out this year. I really do. I expect the receivers to be better. I expect the running back. Running backs were very good last year. My expectation is Dylan Sampson will have a big year, kind of like Jalen Wright had last year. Yeah, I think this is a good question. They will. Because the they're not stopping after first down unless it's 2 minutes to go, and then there's a 2-minute warning this year as well. But I expect with Tennessee, I don't know that they'll run as many plays, but I don't know, man. I expect him to be very, very fast, though. I really do. I expect him to go super fast. With the first down, not stopping on that, I don't know that it's realistic to expect them to run more plays than they have definitely 2 years ago. But I expect this offense to go lightning fast this year. Really do. And then kind of sum up the defense, talked about defensive line should be one of, if not the best in college football. I do have concerns. I have questions on the linebackers and the secondary. Keenan Pili, I feel good with him at linebacker, but other than that, everybody's unproven. And he's unproven in the SEC. Let's make no mistake about it. So we're expecting this guy to be a big-time linebacker. I think he will. He'll be a veteran guy who's played a lot of football. And then that secondary, it's an inexperienced secondary, but does the talent and what they do win out? We're going to see what Willie Martinez and Tim Banks are made of from that standpoint of progressing his secondary. I think there'll be some growing pains along the way, and they'll get tested against NC State. NC State has, who is it, McCall, Coastal Carolina's quarterback the last few years, transferred there. They got one of the receivers from Ohio State, Noah Rogers, if I'm not mistaken. And NC State's a pretty solid program, so I could see that defense getting tested a bit in that game. I think we'll find out quick. I don't expect Chattanooga to do a lot of challenging on it. If they do, we might have a little issues with the defense. But main thing, I want to see how the defensive coaches, is aggressive game plans. I don't want to see a game plan like we saw at Florida last year, where they are. I thought the game plan was awful. I thought it was awful, and I don't know, man. That something just was not right that whole night. It really wasn't. But for you guys that are in here tonight, too, if you're members of the channel, if you've subscribed to the channel, there are membership tiers as well. $2.99, you get custom-made emojis, you get member badges. $4.99, get shout-outs, you get member-only polls. $9.99, when we get that built up, there'll be some member-only streams and stuff. And I'm looking at a tier 2, maybe a little bit more, to where people in that tier, we might set up like a round table. It's not like a live call-in show, so to speak. It is I would do like a video. I'd get a few people in. I'll propose a topic, just a what if, or, a revisionist topic to go over. And we just sit and have a round table, being some of the member. I think that would be a lot of fun. I guess it's kind of the same as kind of a call-in, but it's like I propose a random topic. Could be on football, basketball, baseball, or whatever. For example, what would have happened? I was hanging out with a buddy of mine last night. We were talking about what would Tennessee basketball had looked like if Bruce Pearl would have just said, I had the barbecue. Would he still be here? What would have happened then? I think that would have made, that's one that could be, what would that look like now? Kind of a revisionist. There's plenty of revisionist things we could look at with football as well over the years, going back to late 90s, early 2000s, and then all these years that we wanted to forget along the way. So keep you posted on that. And then there is a link in the description on here for Patreon. Yeah, you won't give $1 a month to the channel. Any money goes, it does go back into the channel. I'm not on here bumming for money or nothing. If you can't give or don't want to, that's fine as well. Biggest thing you do to help me on here is just sharing out the content. Get it out there to people to maybe not found it as well. But looking at it, getting back into kind of the preview. So talked about the position previews and talked about each unit, kind of what I'm expecting. Again, the synopsis of it. I'm expecting a fast offense. I'm expecting defense that'll do some good. I think there's going to be some nights where there's some potential for some rough nights just because of the back 2/3 of it. That defensive line should be stout. Let's get into the schedule now. I did do a video way back. This was, gosh, I can't remember why I did it now. It was one of my earlier videos I did on here where I did a way too early projection. And I think I'm still going to stick with what we got here. So let's get into this. Yeah, I talked about this one. I don't know if you heard we're on here yet or not, Sam. I talked about Spillman. Hell, I think that's a guy. If he's anything like we saw in the orange and white game, he's going to be hard to keep off the field. Especially if some of these other guys are struggling. But I do like the William Inge pickup as the linebackers coach. I thought Brian Jean-Marie, he's done a good job kind of helping restock that. But, other than that, I appreciate what he did. He was a good recruiter. He did a decent job, but I really think it was time for somebody to really take it to the next level. I like William Inge. He and Tim Banks know each other. They've got a relationship there. He's a guy who can recruit, but he's also a good teacher. Not saying John Marie wasn't at all. Michigan wouldn't have come after him hard if he wasn't good. So he was definitely good. They didn't want to lose him. But I do like the William Inge hire. NC State and go. Yeah, that's right. So, all right, let's get into it. So we'll look at, of course, the home opener. Home opener is, here we go, Chattanooga, August 31st, 12:45 p.m. Yeah, that, to me, that's one I run them out of the building and then get your backups in when you can. You don't want to pull them too early. And this staff is one they normally like to play their guys later in the games. And you may see them play a little later, being the first game, getting ready for NC State. But that's one I totally expect them to really take care of business. And I hate these games. I know it helps these programs like Chattanooga and, ETSU and these teams when they play them. But, man, I hate these games because for the most part, they're not even competitive. Austin Peay was last year. To me, that was the moment probably should have made the switch at quarterback, but they didn't. And, they keep on rolling. NC State, September 7th, 7:30. Old Frank will actually be at that one. Looking forward to going to that game. I'm picking Tennessee to win that one. I'm picking them to win by, I'll say, a couple touchdowns. But, I'm not saying it'll be an easy game. I just think Tennessee's going to have more talent. And when it boils down to it, I don't know that NC State is going to see anything or going to know what's hit them with this offense. If this offense does what I expect it to do, everybody's healthy, everything's rolling, I just think it's going to be too much. I think it'll be way too much for NC State. Let's see. Bender of Strings had a good question here. What are you going to look for in the Chattanooga game? Anything we can glean from it? Really, what I'm looking for is how fluid is the offense. I really want to see how fluid they go against, obviously an opponent that is not on their level. Are they going fast? Are they in sync? That's going to be one of my biggest things. You're going to have games where there's penalties and such, but how are they doing pre-snap? Are there pre-snap penalties? Are they, basically, I want to see some guys make some plays at receiver. I want to see what these running backs do because I'd say you'll see a lot of running backs play in that game. I want to see speed. I want to see these guys do it. I want to see them use the middle of the field some as well. A guy like Brew McCoy is made for going across the middle. Holden stays as a guy who'll be a middle of the field type guy. I think Ethan Davis can do that at the tight end as well. I really, like I said, I just really want to see a fluid offense in that game, running fast, making things happen. Um, Basically, just having their way. To be honest with you, for the defense, yeah, I think this is a good one. I agree with this. I want to see the command that Nico has too. Um, yeah, I think one thing, and I think, yeah, the growth from the bowl game till now. I think one thing that'll be a big help to him. Of course, number one, he's gone through the off season knowing it's his team. He's got all the main reps. He's going to get all the reps here in fall practice, ready to go. Just that offensive line. I mean, you look at that offensive line in the bowl game, and that was as makeshift of an offensive line as I can remember seeing down there. The fact that he'll have this veteran offensive line in front of him, ready to go, I think it'll make a big difference. But I am curious to see that as well. I want to see him with a good command. If this offense is fluid and running fast, that means he's got a good grasp of it. If they're kind of sputtering, they're having penalties, they're not lining up well, that may be a little bit worrisome, something that can probably get fixed. But I know based on what they've talked about with him, when Josh Heupel at SEC Media Day said, I expect Nico to hit the ground running, that tells me that they're going all out with him. They're basically, the training wheels are off at this point. I think in that bowl game, they may have been, they let him kind of get out and do his thing. But with that line, if, another thing I want to see, and this goes bender of strings to what you said about the real growth. Are they getting pressure on him? Is he getting rid of the ball? That's something else I want to see as well. That's going to tell me how much he's grown at one point. I don't know that Chattanooga will get a lot of pressure on him. If they do, that's worrisome on the offensive line. But again, being fluid. Defense, I want to see. I just want to see a solid, good tackling. I want to see a good tackling unit, and I want to see, your secondary, your linebackers be able to cover in some space. Specific those linebackers. I want to see them be able to get out in the flat. The defensive line, this defensive line, again, should be one of the best units in the entire country, defensive line-wise. I want to see them show that against Chattanooga. I mean, really, I'm looking for Tennessee to destroy Chattanooga. I really am. But, in those games, I don't know that you learn a lot of good in those games, but you can definitely learn the bad in those games. Kind of like last year against Austin Peay. It was like, that game was much closer than it should have been. And, I still got a question why change was not made at quarterback. But, I don't know that Nico, maybe they didn't think he was ready. I don't know that there's been an answer to that at this point, to be honest. But I know they talked that they were confident in Joe Milton to get the job done. But, I don't have a lot of answer on that one. Let's get back to the schedule here. So game 2, NC State is talking about that. I think if this offense does what I think, I just don't see NC State being able to hang with Tennessee. NC State may score some points, but they won't score what Tennessee does. Kent State, I expect Tennessee to roll in that one. And then here's the big one. Here is, of course, NC State's going, we'll learn some about this team against NC State. But here you go, Saturday, September 21st. It'll either be 3:30, 4:30, 6 o'clock, or 8 o'clock at Oklahoma. We know how Tennessee has played on the road since Josh Heupel's been there, other than against Kentucky and Vandy. I mean, you had the LSU game where they were lights out. But other than that, I mean, they have had some bad performances on the road. Does this team take a step on the road this year? Oklahoma, they're going to be trying to see if we got. We'll try to find some preseason rankings if anybody's come. I'm sure somebody has. Oh, ESPN's got their power index. So they have Georgia 1, Oregon 2. There's Texas, Ohio State, Alabama 5th, Penn State, Notre Dame. They got Oklahoma 8th. Oklahoma 8 says ESPN's FPI loves them. Of course, they've got Jackson Arnold, former 5-star quarterback. Says Oklahoma's got a veteran defense this year as well. Purdue transfer Deion Burks. He'll be a playmaker in the passing game. Arnold, it kind of sounds like with him, it's the same as Nico. He played the bowl game. Now he'll be fully in control of the offense. Be his first campaign as a starter as well. Oklahoma, of course, they've got a rough schedule, it talks about. And then here's Tennessee 9th. Tennessee's 9th. They've got them 24/7 had Tennessee 12th. They had Oklahoma 15th. But ESPN's power index has Tennessee 9th, Oklahoma 8th. I'm going to pick Tennessee to win that game. I picked them in my way too early ones to win it. That's one, though, to me, if they don't win it, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to fret. Now, if they just get absolutely annihilated in it, yeah, I might have some concerns. But that's a game to me. If Tennessee does not win and it's competitive, I don't really think we can hang our hats too much on that one. More than likely, Oklahoma will be favored in that game. But I'm going with Tennessee in that game. I'm going with them to get over their road woes. Hypo going back to Oklahoma for the first time in a long time. He's going to be fired up. There's I expect that they'll come in ready to play in that game. I really do. They're off the 28th. And then here's one I think you got to be careful about. Arkansas on the road. Tennessee's had some trips to Arkansas where they've not played well. And, Arkansas had a rough year last year. I got to think they do bounce back to some extent this year. That's just one of these sneaky games for them. It really is. It's a sneaky game. That'll be early afternoon or late evening game. Looks like they've got the flex on that going even from 3:30 to 8 p.m. This is a game Tennessee will have to come in and play. Now, if that offense is on it, there's no way to me Arkansas hangs with them. There just isn't. But if that offense is not doing their thing, then that could allow Arkansas to stick around. I'm going to pick Tennessee to be 5-0 at this point. Worst case, 4-1. Oklahoma, yeah, I could see them losing that game, even though I'm picking them to win, and maybe that's the homer in me that's picking them to win that game. Picking them to win that one, but I am someone 5-0. Florida, October 12th. I'm just telling you guys, we know how this series always goes. This is the year. Now, I will take a 1-point win over Florida any day of the week. This is the year, though, I want to see them just beat their ass. I'm not going to sit there and lie about it. I want to see them annihilate Florida this year. It is time because Tennessee's going to be better. They're going to have more talent. It's in Knoxville. It's at Neyland Stadium. That place is going to be rocking. It's going to be somewhere in that range of 3:30, anywhere from 3:30 to 8 o'clock. I want to see, you got to think Neyland's going to be fired up. I want to see this team come out and beat Florida bad for once. It's been a long, long time since Tennessee has mopped the floor with Florida. I mean, there's been some years they should have done it, and they haven't. But, the last couple times Tennessee's beaten them. Beat them, 2 years ago, and it come down to the last play. Florida had a chance with the Hail Mary. And then when Butch Jones beat them, it was, Tennessee made that comeback where they were down by 21 points. Really, the most dominant game I can remember before that was 2003 when Tennessee beat them at the Swamp. It was like 24-10 or something, which that score doesn't really indicate it, but they were in full control of that game. I mean, other than that, it would have been when Fulmer was the interim coach, and Heath Schuler was quarterback when they wore Florida out. It was in that downpour in the early 90s. Guess that's the last time they really absolutely mopped the floor with them. Uh, I want to see it. I want to see it for once. And Bender Strings here says, I want to see us get Napier fired. I want that game to be the one. that would be something. Here's the thing with Florida. If you're Tennessee, you've got to get them because Florida's got too much to be down. They're going to at some point get their hire right down there as well. So you got to be prepared for that one. I expect Tennessee to win this one, go to 6-0. Alabama comes up next. Alabama, October 19th. Are they going to drop off some without Saban? Sure, but man, I really think they did as good as they could do with the coach. DeBoer is a heck of a coach. I think they did well to get him. That'll be a game. That'll be a ball game. But you know what? It being in Knoxville, it'll be late evening game as well. I'm picking Tennessee to go to 7-0. Kentucky, so now Tennessee's off the 26th. I don't like the 2 bye week thing. I hate it, actually. But for the team, it's probably good to get rested up, especially with that stretch that they have in October. Then you got Kentucky coming to Neyland November 2nd. You know where I'm going there. I expect Tennessee to win that one and win handily in Knoxville. The big thing, Tennessee's going to score. They've always scored on Mark Stoops since Josh Heupel's been there. Can they stop Kentucky's offense? In Lexington, Kentucky's been able to score 2 years ago. In Knoxville, Tennessee shut them down. I expect something similar that Tennessee rolls in that one. Mississippi State comes to Neyland November 9th. Both those games will be night games, somewhere in that 6 to 8 o'clock range. Now, I expect Mississippi State to be sneaky on offense with Jeff Lebby as the new head coach. He and Heupel really kind of cut from the same mold as far as how they go offense. I mean, they've worked together before. I expect that'll be 2 fast-paced offenses. I really think it will be. So I expect Tennessee to win that game handily, but that'll be one where there will probably be a lot of plays. There may be a lot of points, and it's going to go very fast. So at this point, I've got Tennessee at lost my tracker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got a 9-0 going to Georgia, November 16th. 9-0. Now, I want to look at Georgia's schedule. Of course, Georgia, everybody's going to have them number 1, rightfully so. So let me pull up. I do want to see Georgia's schedule because I have not. Georgia football schedule. Let's see what we got. So Georgia starts their season against Clemson. I was thinking somebody was telling me that. Right. I hadn't looked at. Georgia against Clemson, Saturday, October 31st at noon. That's a weird time for that game. Georgia will roll Clemson. So I don't know that Clemson can hang with Georgia. This is not the Clemson of a few years ago when they had Trevor Lawrence and all these guys. This is I expect Georgia. Of course, both teams are fairly close to Atlanta. So Georgia's got Clemson first. Then they've got Tennessee Tech. They're at Kentucky. Kentucky is giving them some trouble at point. Oh, here we go. Georgia is at Alabama September 28th. Interesting. That will be an interesting one. That's a 7:30 Saturday night game. They've already got that one marked. That would be one for Georgia. Let me pull Georgia's schedule. Let me share that up with you guys here. Here we go. That is one Georgia could lose at Alabama. Now, they could go down there and win as well. Make no mistake about it. So there's a possibility. Auburn is homecoming. Wow, you normally wouldn't see that, but Georgia should take care of business against Auburn. They get Mississippi State at home as well. Georgia should handle them. At Texas, man, Georgia's got a schedule, so that'll be an interesting one. October 19th. There's going to be some games on that day with Georgia at Texas, Tennessee, and Alabama. Now, I'm not sure who else is playing. That is the one they could lose. Florida, they should run Florida out of the building. At Ole Miss, that'll be an interesting one as well. Ole Miss, a lot of outlets have got them picked pretty high as well. The ESPN index had them. Let me see where they had them at. They got them a little lower in 16. 24/7 had them post spring ranking of number 6. A lot of the stuff I've seen had them up around top 10, actually. So that is 3 brutal road games. And then Tennessee, there's the 9th game. Then Georgia has UMass and Georgia Tech. So, if you look at those schedules, Tennessee's got some tough games, but Oklahoma's the only road game in that. Arkansas, I think Tennessee should take care of business in that one. NC State, it's neutral site. I expect Tennessee to take care of business, but that'll be a game we'll find out some about Tennessee because I do expect NC State to be decent. I'm trying to see if they've got them in this ESPN index. Oh, Florida's schedule too. I see that. I forgot that their schedule is brutal. No, I don't see NC State listed there. So Tennessee, back to that Tennessee schedule. So Tennessee comes in based on my predictions. I got them 9-0 right now. I got them 9-0 going into Georgia. And I'll be honest with you, I've got to see it to believe it. Them beating Georgia right now. Ever since Heupel's been here, Georgia has had his number. They had it. They've come to Knoxville twice, and it's not been close. And then 2 years ago, plenty of media, plenty of people fired Georgia up. They said that stadium was just insane with the noise. They were fired up. They gave them plenty of ammo in that one against Tennessee. So, and Georgia just shut them down. I honestly think that score was not a good indication of how Georgia beat Tennessee pretty bad that day. The score didn't really dictate it because of the weather, and Georgia kind of had to dial it back, but they dominated. They were dominant from start to finish, and Tennessee really was never in that game. That's something with Josh Heupel and his staff they've got to do is figure out how to score on Georgia, but also how to stop their offense. They've not been able to stop their offense at any point either. So I'm going to go at this point. Tennessee's 9-1, UTEP, Vandy to finish out. I've got Tennessee going 11-1. All right. Worst case to me, best case 11-1. Obviously, if they went down, pulled the upset at Georgia. Worst case, the absolute worst case that I can see is 9-3. Worst case. And to me, for 9-3 to be okay, and I say, well, whatever. Losses at Georgia, at Oklahoma, and possibly lose to Alabama. I think you got to beat Alabama coming into Knoxville, though. I really do. I think you've got to take care of business at home. So, but I would say obviously there's no shame in losing to Alabama. It sucks to lose to Alabama, but there's no shame in that. So I'm going to say 11-1. That gets them into the college football playoffs, and then, we'll go from there with it. I don't know that this is a national title team, but, the baseball team wasn't necessarily picked to win national title either, and you saw what happened. But I do expect this team to be a playoff team. 12 teams. I think they're one of the best 12 in America, and I think based on the way their schedule is set up, I think they'll have a good shot at it as well. Some of these, that Georgia schedule we just looked at, there are 3 tough road games for them at Alabama, at Texas, and at Ole Miss. The schedule makers did not do them any favors this year for sure. But I still wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see Georgia drop one of them. Maybe they won't drop all 3. I really don't think they will. they're still going to be, I mean, they're like Alabama's been. They just reload at this point. So there's our predictions for the year. I'm going 11-1 and then make the playoff. And I really with 11-1 too. If Tennessee were to go 11-1, they're going to stand a good shot to play in the SEC championship game as well, since divisions are gone this year and since it's all one thing. If you go 11-1, which in the conference, you would be what, 7-1 in conference? You're going to stand a good shot at 7-1 in conference with your only loss being to Georgia of playing for that SEC championship. That's something we've not done in a long time down there. So it's possible. You know, maybe I'm being unrealistic with my predictions on there. That's where I'm going with it. 11-1 and playing in the SEC championship. We'll see. We'll revisit this later on and see how it goes. So I'm going to wrap up team talk on that one. Last thing, we're going to talk a little recruiting, and I think I'm going to go ahead and end it. I said first time permitting, we talk a little basketball and baseball, but just a little bit over hours. So talk a little bit of recruiting, then we'll wrap this thing up tonight. So Tennessee comes off of another big weekend. They got the commits from Shady Hayward, and then they got Dasan Brame this weekend. Not to be confused with Deshaun. It is Dasan, Dasaahn. Two big-time pickups, depending on the outlet now. So Tennessee on 24/7. Let me pull. Let's see. I had 24/7 up here just a minute ago. All right, here we go. On 24/7, Tennessee has the number. I lost it here. Team rankings. Here we go. Number 5. They're number 6. Number 6 on 24/7 Sports. They're behind Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and Auburn right now. According to 24/7 Sports, they have 12 4-stars and 8 3-stars in the fold. Of course, according to 24/7, George McIntyre is the highest commit. You got McIntyre, and then you got Hayward, Douglas Utu, Dasan Brame, Marion Dye, Ethan Utley, Travis Smith Jr., Jaden Lofton, Nick Moore, Jack Van Dorselaer. They are 4-stars. Redarius Jackson, 4-star. And then Christian Gass, Sidney Walton, Trey Petit, Tyler Redmond, Antonio Kate Agamuro, Joakim Dodson, Justin Baker, Dylan Lewis, Charles House. According to 24/7, they are all 3-stars. Now, if I look over here on 3, I'll kind of pull this here as well because I think you can see these. This is not a premium thing. I wouldn't pull up premium content, but so let's look at the on 3. So they have their industry rankings here as well. So you see McIntyre on 3 has him 74th overall, 24/7 69th, ESPN 61st, Rivals still has him 39th. Here's Utu, who is 4-star on 3 and 24/7, 5-star on ESPN and Rivals. Dye is a consensus 4-star. Travis Smith, consensus 4. I mean, he's on 3's got him 59th overall. Dye 36th overall, according to on 3. Hayward is pretty consistently. Rivals has him a 4, but the other 3 have him 104th at worst. Brame, consensus 4-star, anywhere from 101 to 229. Utley, consensus 4. Lofton, consensus 4. Jackson is consensus. Gass is 4 on 3, and ESPN a 3 on 24/7 and Rivals. More, and you guys can see down the line as we get into it. So, what Tennessee has done, and of course, it's behind the paywall. Brent Hubbs had an article today on VolQuest talking about what Tennessee did in June. His example, if you guys remember back when there wasn't the early signing period, how Florida State used to for years, especially under Bobby Bowden. They would schedule all those main guys for that last weekend right before signing day, and they would rack up. Tennessee elected in the June visits to push them off to right before that dead period, as they talked about. And it paid off greatly. I think said that they'd gotten 7 out of 9 guys around that time. I mean, you look at all those June visits, all the guys that came in and how well they've done. You got Hayward this weekend. You got Brain in the fold, flipped him from Oregon. And then moving forward, of course, somebody earlier, go back earlier up here, it was SEC football. Talked about this, said Big Sanders, if we land him, it's huge. That's the big one on the board. August 17th, of course, David Sanders Jr. went to Nebraska Thursday and Friday. He was in Knoxville Saturday and Sunday. I know Ohio State feels good about as many times as he's been to Knoxville. His family's been with him to Knoxville numerous times. I think Tennessee's going to get good news on August 17th. I really do. And I know say a lot, I think. We don't know for sure. You don't know for sure till a guy's on campus, till they've signed a dotted line or they're on campus. You get Sanders Jr. in the fold. That's going to push your class into the top 5. You get Conanbanny, the cornerback out of Columbia, who's he said he's down to Tennessee and Florida State. Are they able to close out with him? That's going to remain to be seen. I think Tennessee leads now based on what I've seen. He was just down there this weekend, but Florida State's not going to go easily. Jaden Perlotti, that was one people thought was going to be in the fold. He was scheduled to be in Knoxville this past weekend. He went to USC Southern Cal instead. So you got to wonder if they'll get him in the fold or not. That one remains to be seen. Dwayne Morris, running back, athlete out of Murfreesboro, was supposed to have been on campus. He did not make it as well. So, Tennessee, if they're going to flip him, they're going to have to go a little harder for sure. But to me, looking at what's left out there, you've got your quarterback in George McIntyre. Now, I've not even talked about Faison Brandon, the number of 26 guys and 27 guys who were on campus, and Tennessee did really well with them. Brandon announces Saturday for 2026, number 1 overall player who's going to be in the fold. You look at what Tennessee's going to have on camp or what they're going to have lined up at quarterback. Nico, Merklinger, George McIntyre, and then you're going to have Faison Brandon. I'm shocked that they'll have all those guys, but they are building a quarterback factory in Knoxville right now. That's why I say what we really need with Nico is to be 2 years and then a high draft pick, a very high draft pick. That's going to show out to these guys because it's not just chasing the most money. There's guys that still want to play in the NFL where they're ultimately going to make much more than they'll ever make in NIL for sure. Quarterback, they're good. They need one more running back from what I'm seeing. Because I could see Dylan Sampson this year has a big year and be off to the NFL. He'll be eligible to go after this year. After that, you're going to be unproven. I mean, you really are. So we'll look at offers. Here, see what offers are out here. If you look at here we go, running back. Trying to see who out of these guys. I mean, I know they went after Bo Jackson, a running back out of Cleveland who committed to Ohio State. You've got Chroma, running back who had visited earlier out of Georgia. Crystal ball favors Auburn for him. Let's see if there's any others on here that. Mills Knight, the running back out of Chattanooga. Crystal ball favors Ole Miss for him right now. Of course, they've got Justin Baker in the fold. So, I mean, do they cast their net out a little bit further? There's still a dude out of Greer up here close to where I'm at. LaDainian Martin, who's favored to Tennessee, but I don't know that he has an offer. I've not heard anything about him actually being at Tennessee or them talking to him. So, I mean, if you don't get Dwayne Morris, are you able to possibly convert an athlete? I mean, that'll be interesting to see. Tight end, I mean, they're set at tight end with Van Dorselaer and then Bream. You are set, I think, at wide receiver with Smith, with Dotson and Jackson. Your offensive line, of course, the big one that's coming up right now. I mean, that's going to be obvious. You're waiting on David Sanders. That's the one that's going to be the big one. You've got Utu in the fold. You have Nick Moore in the fold, who they're bringing into play center. You have Ogamura in the fold, and that goes along with what they added last year as well. I mean, just in that class last year, they added, let me pull it back up here. They had Bennett Warren, who's listed as an offensive tackle. You had William Satterwhite, Max Anderson. You had Gage Ginther out of Colorado. Jeremiah Hurd, who he was listed as a defensive lineman. I've seen he is going to play tackle, offensive tackle. Jesse Perry is a guy I've seen good things said about as well. So they signed, and plus Lance Hurd, who they added late. They've got plenty of line. There's going to be a lot of opportunity there. Will they hit the portal? It'll be interesting to be seen as well. Tight end, like I said, they're good. Defensive line, I could see. I mean, right now you have Dye in the fold. You have Jaden Lofton in the fold. I don't think you can ever have enough defensive linemen. And then Smith, who just visited this weekend out of Maryland, is supposed to announce tomorrow night. It's looking like he will be in the fold for Tennessee as well. Pull up and look at that. It was Darian Smith. That's his name, out of Maryland. So he announces tomorrow night. He said it's between Tennessee and Ohio State. It is believed Tennessee does have the momentum with him right now. So I would expect another commitment tomorrow night, and you can never have enough offense or a defensive lineman or offensive lineman either. You can never have enough of them. Ethan Utley, defensive lineman out of Nashville. He's in the fold. What's Christian Gass? He's listed as a linebacker, but could he possibly play some end down here? Charles House is in the fold. So Tennessee's probably getting pretty close to being good at defensive linemen, I believe. Hey, there's Papa J back in the fold. Good to see you. Hope you had a good ball practice tonight, Papa J. For $9.99 said getting closer to game day. Can not wait. And appreciate Papa J being a member of the channel. Papa J, G White, and Bionic Clay joined the channel. First guys to join the channel this week. Greatly appreciated with those membership tiers. You guys can click on the join, see the perks that are on there as well as we continue to build this thing. And again, all of it is, it does go back into the channel trying to help bring the best it is. Since I'm covering every sport, or at least 4 of them, and I'm probably going to take up Lady Vols softball too. I'll probably add that to the equation come spring as well. I know people's asked for it. We'll see how that does. See if that's a good one to cover. May test the waters out a little bit with it. But on recruiting, right now, Tennessee, I'm curious to see how their linebacker room, because you have Christian Gass listed as a linebacker, but he could possibly play some end. And then you got Shady Hayward, who's listed as a safety, but he could beef up and play linebacker. Perlotti, I think you need a guy like that. To me, you need more linebackers. They need more linebackers, especially losing Pilley. It's going to be, dependent on, we'll see how that unit progresses this year. And then defensive backs, they have 5 in the fold right now. Unless I think you just get some elite guy who's a can't miss. I mean, I think you're probably good, especially when I was reading the roster off earlier. They're not losing anybody really out of that secondary after this year, at least to graduation. But a lot of exciting things going on in all sports right now with football. The basketball videos and the way they talked about them this past week. I wish there was time to talk basketball, but I'm going to wrap up here in just a minute. I'm really excited about that. Really excited for them as well. There's G White. What's up, man? Good to see you in here. So excited about recruiting. Yeah, absolutely. This staff has done an excellent job this year. I mean, the way they have been, I just feel like they've been real methodical this year and how they've done things. They've targeted the right guys, and it's making a difference. And some of these coaches that were questioned last year about their recruiting, they're getting it done. They are getting it done this year. I'm gonna wrap up on that one tonight, guys. Monday night, 7:30. That is gonna be the norm moving forward. Hopefully, we'll gain some following along the way. As it's, I went football heavy tonight with Josh Heupel's press conference tomorrow, 12:45, and then practice starts on Wednesday. But we'll normally do a mix on Monday nights. It was just a lot to talk about tonight. Like I said, make sure you hit the thumbs up, share it out. If you have not already, like content, subscribe to the channel as well. But, you guys that were in here tonight, I appreciate you tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed the content. I appreciate you being in here. Have a great rest of your evening. And last, but most certainly not least, go Vols.